Trump's cabinet. Who's who? The cabinet nominees. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. The Treasury Secretary is the country's chief financial officer, responsible for making recommendations on both domestic and international financial policies, including those involving taxes and the economy. The Secretary also manages U.S. debt. If confirmed, he would become the first LGBTQ+ person to lead the Treasury and among the few to be confirmed by the Senate for a Republican cabinet position. Secretary of State. Marco Rubio. The Secretary of State is the country's top diplomat and the President's chief foreign affairs advisor. The one-time presidential hopeful and former Trump critic has represented Florida in the Senate for more than a decade. He is the son of Cuban immigrants and has emphasized his working-class roots to voters. Serves as vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee and sits on the Appropriations and Foreign Relations Committees, where he has focused, in part, on the rise of China. Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard. The President's top intelligence advisor oversees all 18 of the nation's intelligence agencies. A former Democratic congresswoman and presidential candidate, Gabbard left the party and became an independent in 2022, before joining the GOP this year. She is the first Hindu and American Samoan elected to Congress. She represented Hawaii in the U.S. House from 2013 to 2021. Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. The Secretary is the Defense Department's chief policymaker and advisor. One of Trump's most vocal defenders and a Fox News personality. Before he joined Fox, he was a major in the Army National Guard and served in Iraq and Afghanistan, earning 2 Bronze Stars. Vocally opposed to diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives in the military. He shared on the Sean Ryan Show podcast that he believes so-called woke generals should be fired. Attorney General. Pam Bondi. The Attorney General is a chief advisor on legal matters and oversees the Department of Justice, which includes the FBI, DEA, Federal Bureau of Prisons and U.S. attorneys, among other operations. Served as Florida's Attorney General from 2011 to 2019, and was the first woman elected to the position. Labor Secretary. Lori Chavez DeRemer. The Labor Secretary oversees the nation's laws and regulations that address workplace conditions, as well as wages, unemployment benefits, among other work-related services. The first Republican woman from the state to serve in the House of Representatives. Homeland Security Secretary. Kristi Noem. The Homeland Security Secretary oversees a sprawling department that oversees border and immigration enforcement, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the Transportation Security Administration and the U.S. Secret Service, among other public safety agencies. With more than 230,000 employees and around a $62 billion budget, DHS is the third largest cabinet department in the U.S. government. She's an immigration hardliner who, if confirmed, would play a key role in carrying out Trump's pledges to secure the U.S.-Mexico border and deport millions of undocumented immigrants. CIA Director, John Ratcliffe. The head of the Central Intelligence Agency oversees efforts to collect and analyze foreign intelligence that help the president and other government heads make policy decisions around national security. The CIA director reports to the Director of National Intelligence. Ratcliffe has been in Trump's cabinet before. He was previously the Director of National Intelligence in the final year of the first Trump administration. Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. The Department of Health and Human Services works to promote public health and prevent disease. It oversees drug, vaccine and food safety at the Food and Drug Administration, as well as medical research at the National Institutes of Health and Healthcare Programs through the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. A former presidential candidate. Kennedy, the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy, originally ran for president in the Democratic primary this year before running as an independent. Agriculture Secretary. Brooke Rollins. The head of the Department of Agriculture manages public policy on food, nutrition, agriculture, natural resources, and rural development. The USDA also oversees the U.S. Forest Service and the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. Another returning member of the cabinet. Rollins served as Trump's domestic policy chief during his first term. Transportation Secretary. Sean Duffy. The head of the Department of Transportation oversees federal transportation policy, improvements and safety, along with agencies such as the Federal Aviation Administration, the Federal Railroad Administration and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. A former congressman. Duffy represented Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2011 to 2019. Most recently, Duffy was a co-host on the Fox Business show, The Bottom Line. Veterans Affairs Secretary. Doug Collins. The VA Secretary oversees the nation's largest integrated healthcare network, which includes 1,255 facilities that serve 9 million enrolled veterans annually. The VA also maintains more than 150 national cemeteries. Collins, who has a master's degree in divinity from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, was a U.S. Navy chaplain in the late 1980s. After the 9/11 attacks, he enlisted with the U.S. Air Force Reserve as a chaplain and deployed to Iraq for 5 months in 2008. He is currently a colonel in the Air Force Reserve. As ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Collins vigorously defended Trump during Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into whether Russia influenced the 2016 election. Interior Secretary. Doug Burgum. The head of the Department of the Interior oversees about 500 million acres of public land and the fossil fuels and minerals underground. The department also manages U.S. national parks, monuments, wildlife refuges and relations with 574 federally recognized Native American tribes and Alaska Native entities. Trump also said the North Dakota governor would also chair a new National Energy Council that will comprise all agencies and departments involved in all forms of American energy. Known as a champion of oil and gas drilling, and has urged increased energy and mineral production on U.S. lands. Cutting carbon. Burgum, who was first elected governor in 2016 and re-elected in 2020, set a goal for North Dakota to become carbon neutral by 2030 without cutting back on fossil fuel use. Energy Secretary. Chris Wright. The Energy Secretary oversees energy, environment and nuclear growth, research and security. The department manages the national stockpile of nuclear weapons materials and nuclear waste. Wright, an engineer, is the CEO of Liberty Energy. He supports fracking and has been a vocal critic of efforts to fight climate change. Wright will also serve on the newly created National Energy Council, to be led by Interior Secretary-designate Doug Burgum. Education Secretary. Linda McMahon. The Secretary of Education oversees all federal school-related policies and regulations for both K-12 and higher education. That includes enforcing federal civil rights protections for students, including access to services for low-income and special education students, and billions in funding to schools, colleges, and universities. It's also in charge of student loans. Another returning cabinet member. This would be McMahon's second time in a Trump administration. She led the Small Business Administration from 2017 to 2019. The Democratic senators praised her as they gave the formal introduction during her Senate confirmation hearing in 2017. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator. Lee Zeldin. The head of the EPA leads U.S. efforts on the environment, including enforcing laws and overseeing regulations, including on how the country addresses climate change. The agency operates on a $10 billion budget and includes more than 17,000 full-time employees. A former congressman. Zeldin represented Long Island in the House from 2015 to 2023. He lost a bid for New York governor in 2022. Among Zeldin's top priorities, according to a post on X, restore U.S. energy dominance, revitalize our auto industry to bring back American jobs and make the U.S. the global leader of AI. We will do so while protecting access to clean air and water. Housing and Urban Development. Scott Turner. the head of HUD oversees housing laws and investigates housing discrimination, along with overseeing a number of housing-related programs, including homeownership and rental assistance. A former NFL player, Turner was the executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council during the first Trump administration. FBI Director Kash Patel. Kash Patel, if confirmed, will serve as the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Kash Patel is a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and America First fighter who has spent his career exposing corruption, defending justice, and protecting the American people. Patel played a pivotal role in uncovering the Russia hoax, standing as an advocate for truth, accountability, and the Constitution. Patel would replace Christopher Wray, who was appointed by Trump in 2017 but quickly fell out of favor with the president and his allies. Administrator of the DEA Chad Chronister. Sheriff Chad Chronister, the top law enforcement officer in Hillsborough County, Florida. He has worked for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office since 1992 and became the top law enforcement officer in Hillsborough County 2017. Trump's potential cabinet reflects bold, controversial, and historic choices. What impact will they have on America? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates.